listen-only mode.
Okay, hello everyone. I guess we can start. I'm Błażej Sitar from Aztec, and I would like to welcome you to our webinar. So for the next hour or so, we will be showing you MDT tools and additional dedicated plugins. So Bartek Łączkowski here is our main developer for MDT, also our trainer, so he will be giving the presentation. And I'm here to help and to get everything organized. So as for the organization, you can see the control panel on your right. You can see that there is a question panel where you can ask some questions that I will see. So during the presentation, you can ask something and we will stop and answer your question. Or you can keep your questions to the end where we will be having some short discussion. Or you can also raise your hand and then I will be able to unmute you and you will be able to ask the question personally by giving you a voice. Okay, so I think we can start. Okay, Bartek, you have the microphone. Go on.
Okay, thank you, Błażej. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Bartłomiej Laczkowski. Probably some of you already met me. So today I will try to do a short MDT overview. Let's take a look at the agenda. First of all, I will try to show a small MDT overview, just to show you the most specific features available in MDT, how to use them and how to use them efficiently. But the most important part of today's presentation will be related to additional plugins available to download or on our site that are strictly dedicated for MDT. So those plugins are UML Modeler, MUnit support, Melon Bridge, and MStyle plugin. And at the end, we'll do a small summary. In the meantime, I will try to show you also some additional plugins, external plugins for Java development tools, as well as Eclipse Marketplace, which is very useful in case of installing new plugins. Okay, I think we can move on. So in case of any questions, you can of course interrupt me and I will answer all of the questions, okay? Błażej will control all of the things that are happening in our control panel. Okay. So let's move to MDT. I'll start my environment.
Okay, and while Bartek is setting up the environment, I have a quick poll for you to see, a quick question. So if you could answer, that would be great. I will close it in a minute. Just give us a quick answer. If you would be installing MDT rather as an independent environment or as a part of a bigger environment, so just as one of other plugins. Okay, so quick vote. Let's just wait for another 15 seconds or so.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so thanks for voting, and let's get back to the presentation.
Okay, so as you can see, I started my MDT environment. As you probably already know, MDT is feature based on a set of plugins strictly related to Eclipse. So we can install this feature on Eclipse platform or any other tool that were based on Eclipse. As you can see, this installation is a product installation of MDT. We could notice that by seeing our MDT splash screen. So we can install MDT product and then install some other additional plugins to our environment. In this case, I've installed some additional things like these plugins for MStyle, MUnit, Melon, and UML Modeler, as well as some tools for supporting version control systems like Subversion, and the so-called Eclipse Marketplace, which is very useful in case of installing some additional plugins. I would like to start with this Eclipse Marketplace because it's very important. In Eclipse, it's not so easy to install new software or finding some updates for existing one. So let's take a look how the installing of new software process is looking like. So you can see that there is a lot of different update sites. We always have to choose some update site, then we have to choose some different features, check what is already installed, and so on and so on and so on. It's not so easy, it's not so obvious. So I propose to install so-called Eclipse Marketplace plugin. And after installing this plugin, you will have additional option in your context menu in the help menu. And after choosing the Eclipse Marketplace option, you will see the list of available so-called marketplaces. The standard one is the Eclipse Marketplace. We can find there are a lot of different plugins and tools that we can install also to MDT. So if you would like to find something related to, for example, CVS, you can search some additional plugins like the CVS version 3. We can see the description of the plugin with some additional information. And of course, after selecting this plugin, it's very easy to install. Just simply click install button, and that's all. It's very easy in case of using Eclipse Marketplace. As you can see, there is also MDT available on the marketplace and all of the plugins. So if you'll have some problems with installing MDT and additional plugins, you should also try to use Eclipse Marketplace because it's much easier to do it. Okay, so that was about Eclipse Marketplace. Maybe let's take a look at the second one from the marketplaces. What interesting we have here, maybe something for XML. Yes, there is, for example, Eclipse XML editors and tools and so on. So as you can see, it's very easy to find some dedicated plugins for many different issues with use of Eclipse Marketplace. Okay, let's move on. As you can see, I have started MDT with Magic Development Perspective as a default. Eclipse is based on so-called perspectives, so we can manage a different kind of data with the use of different perspectives. So I can switch, for example, to Java perspective to manage my Java projects. As you can see, here I have a small Java project, which is very similar, taking into account how it looks like. It's very similar to for example, Magic projects. I'll open one of them. As you can see, the structure and the idea how to deal with the sources in Eclipse is very similar. So it's very easy, for example, for Java developers to switch to a new language like Magic with the use of Eclipse and MDT. It's one of the most important reasons why developers would like to work with Magic, because of having Eclipse and MDT. If you were know Java before, for example, and then you have to work with Magic, it's very easy to do it with the use of Eclipse and MDT. You don't have to go back to years when Emacs were at the top of the mountain. So that is why you should use MDT as well. Okay, so let's move to the next perspective. Here we have debug perspective, which is strictly dedicated to debugging a source code, a different kind of code, a Java code, a Magic code. It depends on the context in which we are currently debugging the code. There is also so-called magic modeling perspective, which I will show you in the next steps while presenting a plugin for UML Modeler. Next one is for managing repositories, SVN repositories. So as you can see, for example, I already add some repository location. I can very easy find some sources on my repository. I can see the history. For example, I can compare revisions and so on and so on. And it is very easy to check out my sources to my workspace. With the use of a new project wizard, I can check out the sources as a magic project, for example, to my workspace. Let's name it test. And with the use of new magic project wizard, I can specify also the session which I would like to use to work with the project, and an example, the solve command 4.2. Okay, after pressing OK, you can see that some sources have been checked out. Okay, I will add this project to my working set. Just as you can see, I divided my sources in Product Explorer into different working sets. Okay, so I have, for example, a magic working set. So all of the projects that are specific for magic language I've added to a working set called magic, and in case of Java projects I can switch to a Java working set. So it's very easy to maintain a lot of different projects in your Product Explorer. Okay, let's move to the I think the most important part of dealing with MDT while starting with MDT. So let's move to the sessions issue, because some of the users do not have a lot of experience with configuring or creating a session. So I'll try to describe briefly how to use the session wizard and which one is dedicated in which situation. So first of all, we have to start with a runtime, and generally speaking, a runtime is a small JS version with the set of related application launchers and some set of environment variables that will be used to start our sessions. So if you would like to run some images in MDT, first of all we have to create the runtime with some appropriate launchers, and then we will be able to create the sessions, so some sort of information related to running image at the end. And to create the runtime we have to use so-called new runtime wizard. For example, I will create a runtime for SmallJS 4.2 release. Let's name it core 4.2. I have to specify the location of a core product directory. In my case it will be on my local C drive. And after moving to the next page, we can see that this is the set of the most important executables for running sessions. So JS executable application launcher, SW Magic Win32 image launcher, and method finder connector. In the next page, you can specify environment batch file that will be used to set the environment variables at the runtime level. So I will also use the environment variables from my smaller installation, product, and config directory. Okay. And after adding the batch file, I can simply finish creation of a runtime. After double-clicking on the core runtime in my sessions view, I can open so-called Runtime Editor, and in the editor I can do some changes in an existing runtime. So I can change some paths, maybe two executables, and so on. If I will do some mistakes, the validation mechanism will will notice that something is going on in this particular field, for example, that the application launcher executable is missing or invalid. So I can fix it very quick. In the environment page, I can see the batch file that I specified for this particular runtime and the set of available environment variables. Okay, let's move to the sessions tab. Here we have already some sessions that have been previously created. So you can see the graphical information, like all of those icons and decorators give me some additional information about the kind of a session, about the small.js version of the session, and so on. Okay, to create the session, we have to use so-called a session link or command line session wizard. So as you can see, we have 3 different kinds of sessions available in MDT. What are the differences? First of all, the standard session. Let's create the standard session. The standard session is dedicated to run, let's say, a basic let's say a basic images with some related switches, without possibility to create more flexible launch configurations. So we have to specify the session name. Let's name it swap standard, for example. We have to choose the runtime for our session, so let's choose the previously created. And in the next page, we have to specify an image file and working directory. So I will take the image file from my product installation from images directory, and I will choose a swap standard swap image. Okay, we don't have to specify the working directory. If this field will remain empty, then the working directory location will be set to the value of small.js environment variable. Okay, in the next page we can specify some additional environment variables that will be used at the session level, so after the runtime ones. So first the runtime environments will be set, resultant set, and then all of the variables from the session will be taken. Okay, we don't need to add any variables, so the standard session, let's take a look at the editor. As you can see, there is a lot of different things that we can change in the editor, but generally speaking, all of them are related to the standard set of switches that we can use to start a swap image. You have to be aware that in case of running a standard session, we are using, as you can see in the launcher tab, we are using ASW Magic Win32 session launcher. If you would like to see what is the command line that will be used to start the session, you have to go to the launcher tab, where you can also see the values for the particular environment variables that will be used to run the session. Okay, the additional environment variables, we didn't add any, so the fields will be empty. And of course the set of these standard switches for running images. If you would like to add some additional ones, we have to use the additional command line parameters field. Okay, so as you can see, it's only for running some image with some switches with the use of session launcher. Okay, the second one is called the session link, and we are using it in case of running the sessions based on GIS aliases. In case of GIS aliases, we have to use this particular wizard, which is called new session link. We also have to specify a runtime. In the next page, we can choose the product where MDT found some GIS aliases. So in this case, I will choose SW core. I will choose the swap alias, which already exists, and as you can see, the fields for the batch file and GIS aliases has been automatically automatically filled, and after choosing the appropriate alias, I can go to the next page and, for example, change the name of the session like this. So this one will be Swath Link. Okay, let's take a look at the editor for the link session. And as we can see, we are using the standard alias definition for Swath image. So in this case, we'll be running a copy of the alias. In this case, we'll be running the original alias, but in case if you would like to change some things that are originally in the alias, we can specify to use a custom values for some fields in the alias. So in case if you would like to change the additional commands, we can specify them in the use custom field for additional commands, and then it will be taken as the args part from the alias definition, for example. Or we can also use a custom image file, and so on and so on. So as you can see, the advantage of using Swath Link session is that we can change the elements that are originally defined in some alias. We can change them locally in MDT without affecting the original file. Okay, and of course, like for the standard session, you can see the environment variables, the launcher, so we can see the command line that will be used to run the session, and the resources tab as well. Okay, let's close the tabs, and now the last kind of the sessions, also called command line session, which is the most flexible one available in MDT, because generally speaking, a command line session is like running a command line from a batch shell or something like that. So we have to specify only the name of a session. Okay, so for example, swap command line, you have to specify the runtime. And in the next page, we have to specify a path to the executable files or a batch file that should, at the end of the, which should at the end run some session. So, for example, if we are running sessions with use of some batch files, or we have some large configurations where different files, batch files or executables are running other batch files, and so on and so on, and at the end, starting the session, we can simply use those batch files or executables in command line session specification. So, for example, I can go to my product installation, and in binaries I can find GIS application launcher. So I can specify it as an executable, and as it is in the command line for running sessions with use of aliases, I can only put the name of the alias like this, as Swath, for example, and that's it. So let's take a look at the command line. I have this particular application launcher and those command line parameters to start the session. Okay. As you can see, this one is strong. It's most flexible, but it's not so strongly customizable as the previous ones. So in case of session links or standard session, there is a lot of different things that you can already change in MDT. But in case of command line sessions, you only use those batch files or executables without changing anything. So it's most flexible because we can start anything and with some hope that everything will work fine at the end with the session. But it's not so strongly customizable as the previous ones. Okay, so that was the, let's say, a short overview of the sessions. I think that you know already something more about the idea of dealing with the sessions and how it should be done. Okay, maybe you have some questions, or you would like to. You have some questions or any remarks? Or we can move on.
I don't see any questions, so I think we can move on.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's take a look now at the part for managing my projects in my workspace. So Product Explorer is a view dedicated for managing magic sources. With the use of this view, I can collect different modules, products, and put them into different projects. In case of working with some project, it's a good practice to close all of the others, because while having a lot of different projects in your workspace, it is not strongly recommended to have all of the projects open, because there is a lot of different builders and processes working in the background in Eclipse, and it may slow a little bit your Eclipse installation. So it's a good practice to work only with one project or 2, 3 at a time, because it will speed up your MDT a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, there is a lot of graphical information available in Eclipse tools. As you can see, in MDT there is a lot of different icons indicating that I have module elements here, or source directories, load lists, magic files, classes, methods, private methods, public methods, slots, and so on. So as you can see, everything is pretty cool and looking very nice in comparison to Emacs, because it's like reading a book and watching a 3D movie or something like that. I can try to compare it. Okay, so there's a lot of additional information. Of course, it's a graphical IDE, so we can do a lot of very nice things with the use of this graphical presentation. So as you can see, I have my project, I have my sources. In case of having sources that I have checked out from my repository, I have additional icon which indicates that these elements are related to some location in version control system. So if I will change anything, for example in this file, I will get some additional decorator with the information that something has been changed in this path, in this particular file. Then I can move to so-called team synchronizing perspective, and I will see the changes in my sources. I can use the compare editor to see the changes, of course, commit them or update the changes incoming from the server, and so on. As you can see, everything is very nicely integrated with MDT. All of the resource files, folders, and so on can be used by other plugins like SVN, like plugins for comparing the sources, like plugins for Java, and so on and so on. That's the main advantage of the Eclipse. We can create a really big environment with the use of many different plugins supporting our development. Okay. As you can see, there is a lot of different actions, of course, available that we can manage in our Product Explorer. We can create a lot of different new elements like source files, folders. Now we can choose to use wizards for creating a slotted exemplar. So we can create a definition of slotted exemplar by adding some preliminary information to create the class, and so on and so on. If we install additional plugins, we'll see also some additional actions that will be available in our context menu, like for example the team menu, where we can simply apply some patches, see the local history, or we can compare some elements with the other ones, and so on. So I recommend to always try to find some plugin that will support the tools that you are already using while developing Magic projects. Okay, that was something about Magic projects and related sources. Let's start some sessions and see how to load our sources to the sessions. Okay, so I will close this project and let's start the SWO 4.2 session. There is a lot of different things that we can show you related to MDT and Magic projects and so on, but of course we don't have so much time, so we have to move on. Let's show how to transmit some source code to the session. It's very simple, because after selecting any element anywhere in the workspace, I can transmit it to the session if this element is related to some session. So for example, if I have this file and this file is a part of some project which is assigned to some session, then of course I can load this element to the session because I have this information about the assignment between a session and a project. So if I'm directly in the file, or for example selecting the element in the outline, which is of course also a very important thing, because as you can see, after choosing some elements in outline, I can jump directly between different elements in the editor. So as you can see, the outline is of course a table of content, of a grammar content of our Magic source file. So I can see there class definitions, slot elements and methods, public, privates, and so on and so on. So it's very useful, but of course we can, for example, switch it off and use Control and O action to use so-called quick outline with the filter to find some particular method, like this, or like this, of course. And what is also very important, there is a lot of different shortcuts in Eclipse in MDT. I recommend to see the help and how to use different shortcuts to, for example, switch between different perspectives, like this. So if I would like to go to Java perspective, I don't have to click with the use of a mouse. I can do it, of course, with the use of some shortcuts, as well as for views and so on. And very it's a small tip for you, and a small trick how to find something in Eclipse or MDT if you don't know where to look, if you would like to find it. So by pressing Ctrl and 3, we will have so-called a quick access. So if I would like to find anything related to sessions, I only have to put a session text in the filter box, and I will see all of the available commands, wizards, views, or preferences related to a session issue, for example. So you don't have to use all of those wizards and so on to, for example, run the command line session. It's a small tip for you. Okay, so let's move on. Now let's load, for example, this IS Environment Manager module to the session. We can do it with the use of the main toolbar actions, or with the context menu, or of course with a shortcut. Okay. As you can see, the console has been activated. While working with one session, there is only one console, but of course if we start another session, like this for example, we can simply switch between the consoles with the use of the appropriate action in the console view toolbar. Or we can pin the console, and so on and so on. I recommend to always taking a look at the actions available in the toolbars of the views, because there is a lot of very useful actions available there, as well as those that are available in the main toolbar. Okay, so we started the session. As you can see, we have a console output, so it's very easy to load some sources. If you are not, if you don't want to learn a new shortcuts for managing magic code, you can simply use, for example, Emacs key set, but it's not so important. But if you will go to the preferences in a keys page, you can choose to run an Emacs scheme instead of default to have key shortcuts familiar to Emacs. Okay, let's move to the next part. We will see now what we can do in our source code editor. There is a lot of different features available there. First of all, the most important one is from my point of view, is so-called a code assist. So, for example, if I'm writing the code and after putting some trigger point in my source code, I will activate so-called code assist, which gives me some additional information related to the context of my source code, which I'm right now inside. And for example, after putting the dot after the self invocation, I can see all of the methods available for my class, which I can invoke on the self instance, for example. After adding the method name, all of the input parameters will be also added with some context information and so on. It is not only being used to of course use information from the search tools like a method finder or others, but we can also use it to put into the code some previously defined templates. So, for example, if I would like to create a new public method, it's very easy to find the template. Some information is already being filled, and it's very simple to create a new code with the use of the magic templates. To create the set, to change the set of the available templates, we have to go to, of course, our preferences. That's the next very important thing, because a lot of developers who start to work with MDT are always complaining that something is not working or something is a bug, but they didn't go to preferences to change some behaviors. So, for example, if something is not working for you, first of all, check it in your preferences, and then try to change it. If it's not working, then it's probably the problem related to MDT. So, for example, if I will go to editor page of our Magic general category, then I can change the many things related to code assist. I can change the cycling of proposals, the way of the proposals are being added to the code, activation time, and so on and so on. I can specify the elements that should be folded in my source code. I can specify the way the code is being formatted. I can specify how the magic occurrences works, the syntax coloring, and the set of the templates that are available in my editor. Of course, all of the preferences can be exported in a very simple way to our other colleagues or team members. So I recommend to take a look at the preferences, and there you will find everything that is very useful in MDT. Okay, so for example, there is something like an open type overview editor, which gives you information which is strictly related to the source code that is in the image, let's say. So let's take a look at the system class. For example, I would like to see the content of the system class, because as you probably noticed, in Magic you can have a lot of different method definitions in a lot of different files, but all of them are strictly related to only one exemplar, but all of the definitions are in different files. In MDT there is a tool called Open Type Overview, where we can simply specify the exemplar that we would like to see the elements of. So in this case, for example, let's try to see the system class content. We can see that we have a background in a different colors, and this background color can be different because some elements may not be from the same file. So for example, those elements are from the one file and those are from the second one, and so on and so on. So we just simply create the whole information about the type in this type overview editor, for example. That's that's one of the examples how to use MDT to get a lot of additional information about our source code. So as you can see, the most important thing is code assist, templates, as well as code styles, so the predefined pragmas and methods that can be added to my source code with the use of a shortcut. As you can see, I've added a pragma and a method to already existing method definition. There are also things like magic occurrences. So after selecting some identifier, for example, in the code, with the use of show next or previous action, I can jump to the next occurrence of particular element. So if you would like to see where you are using some local variables in a large method, for example, like this, it's very easy to find the occurrences of the element only by selecting it with the use of a cursor. Okay, so that was something short about the editor, but there is really a lot of different tools available there. It's very easy to format the source code by selecting the whole content and using action called correct indentation or the Ctrl and I shortcut. So as you can see, I've changed the formatting in my source code, and of course it's very easy because most of the tools that are available in Java are also available in MDT. Okay, let's move to the next part related to some tools for dealing with browsing Magic source code. So first of all, the class browser, we can see that MDT has a standard class browser like it was in Emacs, but with some additional enhancements, like showing, for example, the elements that do not have a source in a provided path. So those elements are being grayed out in a class browser. And if you like to, if we try to open the element, we see the window with information that there is no source in provided path for element. If you would like to see the source for existing ones, just simply click on the element and we'll jump directly to the definition of a class or a method and so on. So everything is very similar and can be used in an old, let's say, fashioned way like it was in Emacs. But there is a lot of additional tools in MDT, like Open Member window, where we can find in a little bit different way some members, so method or a global or something like that in MDT, with the use of our local sources or the ones that are available with use of information from the method finder. So let's take a look at this. We have some additional information, whether the method is public or private, and of course the description and so on. So it's like a class browser, but moved out from the view to additional window. Okay, after selecting the element, it will jump directly to the definition. Okay, let's close all. In case of trying to find a magic type, we can use a window called OpenType. So if I would like to find something related to XML, I have to put the XML text into the filter, where we should enter the class name or prefix, and we'll see all of the class with XML text part, part of the text inside the class name. So in this case, it's very simple to find the types, because Java developers, for example, they're working more with types than with methods. Of course, in Magic, that works in a different way. But of course, it's not so easy in Emacs, for example, to find only a particular type. It's easy to find the method, but not so easy to find the type. In MDT, you will have to use the OpenType window to simply find some type definition. Okay, there is also a tool called Magic Hyperlinks. So if we have some, for example, method invocations, like this new method on ACP transmitter, if we have many different, I don't know, invocations, identifiers, and so on, and those elements have some related definition somewhere in some source file, then we can try to jump to the definition from the invocation. For example, after pressing the Control key and moving the cursor over the name of the invocation, we'll see the list of proposals where the possible definition may be found. So in this case, we can try to jump to ACP transmitter class, where we have a new method definition. So as you can see, it's very easy to jump directly from the invocation to the definition. Of course, there is also a lot of different tools for managing text searches in MDT. There is a search window where we have different tabs for dealing with file searches, task searches, Java searches, Magic file searches, Magic searches, and so on, and so on, and so on. So there is a lot of different tools for browsing source code. And for example, there is also additional perspective called Magic Browsing, where we can try to find some elements with the use of the projects. So after selecting the project, I will see all of the types available in my project. And after selecting the type, I can see all of the members of the type. And of course, after double-clicking on the element, I will jump directly to the definition. Of course, there is also some tools for managing type hierarchies. So if I would like to see, for example, let's take a look, let's find like abstract transaction or something like that. If I would like to see the type hierarchy, I only have to select the element which is related to some slotted exemplar, and with the use of F4 key or the action from the context menu, I can open its type hierarchy. Let's take a look at the type hierarchy one more time with the use of action, for example, open magic type in hierarchy. Okay, so we can open the window dedicated to finding hierarchies. Okay, let's see the hierarchy for abstract transaction class. Okay, let's take a look. We can see the subtypes of the abstract transaction. We can switch to mode where we can see the subtype hierarchy, and the last, most effective one is to see the graph hierarchy. So we can see as subtypes as well as the subtypes of abstract transaction. We can change the focus on a different class with the use of focus on action. Okay, focus on transaction. As you can see, it's pretty nice. I like it very much to deal with type hierarchies in MDT with the use of this tool. We can also print it out, and so on and so on. Okay, so that was something about the tools for dealing with and browsing Magic source code. The last, most important thing in MDT, of course, above the others, is Magic Debugger. So let's move to debugging some source code. In the newest release, we don't have to restart the session to run it in a debug mode if we have session already running in a started mode. We can simply switch this mode to the debug mode with use of context menu. So some additional code will be loaded to the session, and now we are able to debug some code. To do it, we have to find a method where we would like to put a breakpoint. So in this case, create work window is the best example, I think. Okay, there is a breakpoint already there. You just have to double click on the left bar near the lines numbers, and let's try to activate some code. Of course, the code assist is also available in the console. As you can see, there are commands, some additional commands from the command history, which is what is important, persistent in MDT. So after restarting the session, the commands are still available for the session. There is also a special dedicated perspective for managing those commands, but we wouldn't have so much time to show it. Okay, so let's choose this action from the command history. Okay, we try to run the code in MDT, and breakpoint occurred, so we can switch to the debug perspective. And the debug perspective have some very nice and important views, like debug view, where we have information about all of the threads that are currently running in our environment. We can see the stack trace of the invocations till the breakpoint, and of course, after selecting the top stack frame, we can see the set of available variables in this context. So we can see the state of self variable. We can see all of the sub-elements like slots, shards, and so on. We can see the value of those elements. We can do a deep browsing of elements. And there is also some additional information available in display pane. So after selecting the element, we will see this additional information in a form similar to using a print on or debug print on method on a particular object. So as a default, we will see the result of invoking a print method on this object. But we can also use a debug print to see some additional information. If this information that is available in the tree is not so efficient for you, then you can simply change the way of presenting it in a display view. Okay, there is also an additional window called expressions, where we can specify a persistent expressions. Those expressions will be evaluated every time when we will do some steps in our source code. So after moving forward with the use of step over action, for example, the value of self will be evaluated every time when we will do some step in our source code. Of course, if some value of variable will change, then we will see the result in the variables view. As we can see, this yellow highlight indicates that this particular variable has been changed after the step, and so on and so on. We can try to do some step intos if it is possible, and so on and so on. There is also available inspect action. So if I would like to see directly information about column headings variable, for example, I can select the expression and choose to run the, okay, where it is, Oh, I didn't find it here. Maybe it just disappeared somewhere. Okay, there should be an action for inspect, but I don't find it here right now. Okay, I've just missed it somewhere. Alright, but there is also possibility to inspect some source code, to use a so-called MDT display view where we can put some additional code and try to investigate the result after evoking this code. I recommend to take a look at help presentations, how to use the debugger. Of course, it's a very useful tool in MDT and one of the most important parts. Okay, I think that's all about the MDT and the overview. Do you have any questions? If not, I will go to the next presentations. I think maybe 15 minutes will be enough to show you plugins for UML modeler, MUnits, MStyle, and of course the last one was MLN Bridge. Okay, do you have any questions till now? Okay, we'll start my sessions. Błażej, do you see any questions?
No, we don't have any questions. Everyone maybe just raise your hand if you want to ask a question. But since I don't see any hands up, I guess everything is clear. So let's move on.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. I hope that you are there, guys, because it's a little bit late in Poland, and I hope that we have participants existing somewhere there. Okay, let's move to the next plugin. The first one will be UML Modeler. This one is not currently is not finished. It's in the early stage of development, so it may explode sometime. It may explode very bad. But let's take a look at it.
Maybe not very bad, but it can crash sometimes. Yeah, it's also related to the fact that we are using Eclipse Papyrus to
some external plugin.
Yeah, to run those models, and Papyrus itself is in like 0.8 release, so it's still not yet production stable and ready. So yeah, we are just developing it along with the Papyrus. So
exactly.
Hopefully, in a few months, it will be,
because it's not
ready.
Possible that our source code may explode. Of course, if something is exploding in MDT, it's not our source code. I think so. Okay, let's move on. So let's take a look at this UML modeler. So I've opened the project with some models definition inside. Let's take a look at a simple model created in UML. Let's move to a magic modeling perspective to see some more information in different views. Okay. As you can see, I have already existing element inside. There is a definition of a package, definition of some mixin without fields, and with two method definitions inside. So I will try to create right now a new slotted exemplar that will be subclassing this mixing. So let's, for example, let's try to create a package first. Okay, let's name it user, of course, and inside the package I will create a slotted exemplar. Let's name it in this case SW environment var filter. Okay, let's move it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's move it here. Okay, let's try to add some field definitions. So in this case, the slot. Okay, let's name this slot filter it. Okay, that's my mistake. It's not like this, but like this. Okay. Okay, and let's add two methods. It will be very simple. Let's name new, and let's add the second method, which will be named init. Okay, and now let's add the generalization for the class. Okay, it's my beautiful diagram. Let's save it. Okay, and let's try to. Of course, we can add a lot of different elements in so-called Model Explorer view. We can add some additional child elements like properties, comments, and so on and so on. We can create new diagrams, new tables, and many other different things. Okay, so now I will try to run the configuration for creating the source code from the UML model. So I will go to Run Configurations menu, and in the section UML2 modeler I will create a new configuration. Let's name it Magic. I have to specify the model that I want to use to create the source code. Okay, and the directory where the code should be generated. So in this case, var filters. Okay. I specify the elements, I will apply the changes, and let's take a look. Validate model before code generation, yes. Element name is invalid, okay. So I think that I have to remove those elements because there is something going on with the poppers right now. Okay, so let's remove those. Oh, my mouse just simply died. Okay, it's working. Okay, just simply delete those operations. Let's take a look if it's okay right now. Run. Yes. Yes. Okay. So something has been generated. Yes. Okay. So let's go back to Magic development perspective. Let's take a look at the var filters directory in our source code. And there is some source code generated, as you can see, not exactly in the proper way. So I have this mixin from my model, and I have the slotted exemplar class. So some starting code has been generated, and of course we have to fill all of the gaps to create the classes and so on. We are still working on it, but it looks very promising. Okay, so if there will be a really need to have a UML modeler in MDT, there will be a lot of different developers who will want to work with UML modelers. We'll try to do our best to bring it on the market as soon as it's possible. Okay, so let's move to the next plugin. Let's close the UML project and let's move to the MUnit support. So MUnit support is, generally speaking, a possibility to run a test for applications written in Magic language. This plugin is responsible for automatic generation of test cases, running tests, and presenting the results. And thanks to MUnit test, specific parts of code can be automatically tested. And of course, it's very helpful in discovering errors and mistakes in the production phase. So let's take a look how to create unit test case. Let's select the directory where we would like to create the unit test case, and after choosing a new unit test case wizard, we can specify the class of okay, let's start the session first, because we'll have to load some modules for unit support. Okay, session has been started. Let's load our module, and now let's create a unit test case. Okay, with use of the browse button in the field class under test, I can specify the class I would like to test. In this case, for example, as environment variable. I can name this exemplar, test exemplar, so as environment var test, for example. I can decide whether setup and teardown methods should be created, and in the next page I can choose the methods, the public methods, from the class that I specified as the class under test, to create the template test methods for those particular methods. So for example, I will choose isSW method to create the test for, and in the next page I can specify whether to add this test to the load list of this source directory. Okay, as you can see, the default okay, let's take a look at the outline. The default structure of the test case has been created, so the setup method, teardown, and one test is SW method. Okay, I will use my help source code to fill all of the gaps. Okay, so simply copy and paste it. Now I have the three methods to for this particular test case, and to start the test suite, I simply have to, for example, select the module with the tests and choose the action run as a unit test. There is a question if I would like to transmit tests before running. Yes, of course. And as you can see, one test has failed. The rest of them is okay. You can see the green check marks, but this one is bad, so of course we can change something in our method, or the test was not correctly created. So let's change the test, and we can rerun the tests. The source code will be loaded one more time, and we can see that we have a green bar indicating that all of the tests went okay. So it's very similar to using JUnit test cases in Java development tools, but of course it's very easy to manage all of the unit test cases with creating these run configurations in MDT. Okay, let's move to the next plugin. The next one is Millen. In this case, let's open the Millen. Okay, and Millen is not so widely used, but it's a very interesting plugin. It may have a lot of different advantages while working with issue tracking systems and version control systems. Millen is our plugin is called Millen Context Connector, which is an integrated task management system that reduces information overload and makes some multitasking easy. Millen Context Connector is strictly related to application lifecycle management in Eclipse, so it gives you possibility to connect to different issue tracking systems and to manage tasks that can be managed by those systems. So let's take a look. For example, After installing Melon, I've installed also a Bugzilla connector because we are using, for example, Bugzilla to store information about our bugs. And my friend created some task with information about some methods and classes that I should check whether everything is fine in those classes. And this information is being stored as a task in a comment of this particular issue stored on the Bugzilla. So someone simply, for example, the project manager found a place where something is going on, and he said, "Bro, take a look at this." And I said, "Okay, I will take a look at this," and I have to open this bug, and then I can simply retrieve this context that my friend added to the bug. And after retrieving the context, I will see only the methods or the other elements in my project that has been added to this particular context, so to the task and the context. I can focus on this active context if I want to see only the information related to this context. How to use it, it's up to you. It's very different cases where you can use it. You can use it to see how some developers work, because we can track the work of the developer, because the context is, after activating the context, we are gathering information about the steps in the source code. So after browsing source code, adding some source code, the context is gathering the information and may be attached to some issue reported on the Bugzilla or any other issue tracking system like Jira and so on. Okay, so Melon is very interesting thing, but not so well known right now. But I think that people should take a look at this because it's very interesting tool. Okay, so the last thing is so-called MStyle plugin. Okay, which is something new, and this plugin is an extension to MDT and is based on our own Magic Grammar parser. You can run it on any resource container, project folder, or a file to check its code using some predefined rules. And MStyle can check many different aspects of a source code, like metric rules, some invalid, I don't know, deprecated source code elements, and run it on some specified projects. This plugin allows you to introduce some theme standards to Magic projects through so-called profiles. Rules can be imported, exported, easily shared in your environment, and after running the check, the list of violations will be presented in separate view, which is called MStyle violations. So let's take a look. Let's deactivate the task. Let's close the project for the Melon, and let's take a look at the MStyle. Okay, after opening the project, I can select the project, and with the use of MStyle check selected resources action, I can do the check. But first of all, we have to specify the profile. To do that, we have to go to MStyle preference page, and in the profile section we can specify the rules. Okay, I will have to remove existing ones. We can specify the rules that we would like to import to our profile. As you can see, there is a lot of different rules for checking the source code quality, like method name length, long method, missing execute mark, multiple pragmas, autoclaver rules. Whether the pragma is valid, for method comment, exemplar comment, variable comment. Those one are very important. Non-explicit name, missing supersamp, chain invocations, class reference, and so on and so on. To see the description of the particular rule, we have to add them to our profile. And after selecting the rule in the profile, we'll see the description of the rule directly in the profile. So if I would like to see what an unassigned local variable rule can do for me, then I can see that this rule checks if the local variable has been assigned. In other case, it can use various problems while it gains unset value, for example. So I specified the set of the rules that will be used to do the check with use of MSTY plugin. And after specifying the profile, I can simply select the project or any other container and do the source code check. So choose the mstyle and check secret resources action from the context menu, and you will see all of the violations after the check process. So I can see, for example, there are some chained invocations in my source code. After double-clicking on the group name, I will see all of the sources that have this violation. And after double-clicking, I will see, okay, that there is a chained invocation. First, I invoke the name method on the self, and then an uppercase on the result of invoking the name method. So it shouldn't be like that. At the moment, there is only possibility to export the result of the check to some XML file, but in the future we'll try to integrate MSTY plugin with tools like Sonar, for example, for presenting some code metrics and so on. And of course, the set of the rules will be still growing up, and it is possible to also add your own rule with the use of so-called regular expression. You can specify the regular expression for your rule to find anything in the source code that may be interesting for you. So this regular expression rule is dedicated for the MDT users who would like to create some additional patterns to find something interesting in the code. Like, for example, to do comments or fix me or something like that. Okay, so that is what MSTY plugin can do for you. All of the violations are available in MSTY violations view, like in the problems view. In the warnings section, we can of course set a different severities for particular problems and so on and so on. So as you can see, you can change some rules from warning to error, and after checking the sources, it will be reported as an error. Okay, I think that
I think worth mentioning is also that we can exclude some containers from the checks. If you could show the
exclude.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, we can simply select some sub-element from our project, for example, and in MSTY we can choose the option to.
No, but what I meant is that you can generally exclude some folders that you don't want to check. Like, you know that there are some violations, but you don't want to have them reported because you need them there. You can go to your profile
Okay.
and exclude some resources or.
Yeah, there is a possibility to. While editing some rule, okay, let's take a look, for example. Maybe not this one. I'm not sure where it is, but I know that there is something like that, just to simply exclude some resources. So for example, if I don't want to check some elements from my project or something like that, I can simply specify it in my profile. Okay, guys, do you have any questions? I think that I'm done for today, and of course I'm here for you, waiting for your questions or
Okay,
some
while
remarks.
we wait for the questions, I will launch a short poll for you. Yeah, so what MDT related plugins would you be particularly interested in using? So you can select one or every one of them. If you could just answer us to give us some hints on which are the most interesting for you.
Let's take a look if they are sleeping right now. Oh,
yeah,
no.
yeah, okay. So
Great.
someone is with us still.
Cool.
Yeah, but the attention isn't as big as I would expect. So.
Okay.
Okay, guys, wake up.
Are you still there? Okay,
Any
okay. I think
questions at this point? Yeah,
we will wait maybe
yeah,
one more minute. Okay.
as for the organizational stuff, again, we will be publishing the recording of the webinar. So we had also another session before this one. So we will be giving two recordings. Of course, the webinars are a little bit different from each other. You cannot just repeat exactly everything during such presentations. So maybe you would be interested in downloading the previous ones. Maybe you will be maybe you can see something that you didn't during this one. Okay, so I guess most
Okay,
of you
let's
are.
just wait one more minute maybe. There should be something like a red blinking light in webinar, go to webinar, just to, you know, see some alarm that the webinar finished and there is a time for questions. So do you have any questions, any impressions, any remarks? We would be very grateful for any remarks. And of course, if you have maybe a lot of questions and you would like to contact us, then please feel free to contact with Blažej.
Yeah, you
Here
can
you can
write to me directly, or you can
direct.
drop an email on support@mdt.net, and yeah, we will get the email. The whole development team will get the email, and we will try to help you as the best we can. Okay, so I think I can close the poll for now. I think that well, over a half of you is awake. Okay, and I have a third poll for you. So if you could just bear with me and answer those questions. Basically, the question is, what discourages you most from using MDT? So is it the long experience you have with Emacs and some, let's say, a fear of the new? Or is it the price? Is it the lack of understanding of the management? Is it the licensing? Or is it none of the above and you don't feel discouraged at all? That is also an answer. So, yeah.
Who was it? Okay, so I think if there are no questions, so after finishing the poll, we can finish today's webinar, and of course we are waiting for the contact. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I will be sending emails with the URLs for the presentation recordings, so you can just answer this email with some questions if you have any, and we can just talk to you individually, no problem.
Yeah, and of course feel free to share the presentation with your colleagues. And
yeah, exactly. Basically, we are also open, and we are doing individual presentations at request, so on request. So if you would feel that such presentation would be good to be seen by your colleagues and maybe a part of your management,
yeah.
we can
Maybe
schedule a webinar
yes.
and.
Exactly.
And
Maybe there is someone who have to be convinced. So yeah,
yeah,
exactly. We are waiting.
we are good at it, and we have been dealing with it for a couple of years already. So yeah, so feel free.
Okay, Blažej, can we finish?
Yeah,
Are all
I think we can
polls
close
ready now?
the poll.
Okay.
So thanks everyone for coming, and talk to you later, I hope.
Okay, great. So thank you very much for participating, and I hope we will meet someday. Okay. Goodbye.
Yeah, bye bye. Take care. I hope you liked the webinar.